chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media Network. And I can tell you that unfortunately, right off the bat, I'm having problems with Spreaker. I've had this before, and I just don't have time to attend to Spreaker. So I'm not going to start the show over. Spreaker can go to hell. I'm going to attend to the people that I have in chat already. Michael John Pascal, Mary Brockman, one viewer. And so you won't be able to listen to the show on Spreaker, but what you can do is this. You can go quick like a bunny over to YouTube, and you can go to the SHR. You can either use your favorite search engine to get there or get into YouTube. And then once you're in YouTube, search SHR Media Network, and it'll take you to the show, which is live right now. Or you can get on Facebook, or you can get onto your favorite search engine and search for SHR Media Network Facebook, and it will take you there as well. I'm sorry to report that I'm being very disappointed these days in Spreaker because of its unreliability. It has great sound when it works. So here I've gone through almost all of my... Yeah, Mary Brockman, that's right. No sound here. Try to YouTube. That's correct. No sound on Spreaker, which is very sad. So, as I recommend, Facebook, SHR Media on Facebook, or SHR Media on YouTube. One of the two places. We are live right there. So if you don't want to watch, that's fine. You can, go and balance your checkbook or clean your fish tank or something like that. And just turn up the sound on YouTube. Turn up the sound on Facebook. You'll be able to hear everything. Besides, who wants to look at my ugly mug anyway? Not very many people. Tonight, we have a very unique and different show, something that it's taken me... I hate to use hyperbole or, one of those things that carry stuff, a hyperbole, which is a really, really big bowl, by the way, a hyperbole. It's bigger than any bowl you've ever come across. Oh, Mary Brockman just put the SHR Media live stream up in chat. Thank you very much for doing that, Mary Brockman. Appreciate that. Today is the first show of 2019, and it won't be but a little bit later on in this month where I get to celebrate my second-year anniversary with the SHR Media Network. Not actually being with them. I've been with them for about 2.5 years, but the second-year anniversary of when I actually began broadcasting. Because if you recall, they made me, the owners of SHR, made me schlep all their equipment around in Las Vegas while they skied off on Southwest Airlines, and then I was left to put all of their equipment into the back of my Kraut car to take it to Las Vegas for Freedom Fest. And that I discovered that's just hazing. That's SHR hazing. It's nothing really to be worried about at all. It happens to everybody at SHR, except I discovered it only happens to me. But that's okay. That's all right. Just to think that I've been here for almost 2 years on the radio is rather nice. I kind of like that. And I didn't even get to finish the introduction. I didn't even get to tell you guys that you got to belly up to the bar. I didn't get a chance to tell you that we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back. And by the way, Flackbait is going to be your bartender tonight in the saloon. He pours with the best of them. The lava lamp is over here looking just a tad sickly. It's on. It is, in fact, lighted, indicating that tonight only. You got to think of this as not a glitch, but a bonus. You can only watch the show on YouTube and Facebook, as I've delineated verbally here before. I got to tell you, however, that in the show, right here in the saloon, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here in the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we are here to do is to ask you to flush the handle, jiggle the handle, flush the toilet, I should say, jiggle the handle. And don't forget to tip your waitress, because that is very, very important. It's a 2-hour show, as per custom. In the first hour, I have an SHR Media special report. I started to mention something about hyperbole, and I don't think it's necessarily hyperbole to say that this report has been essentially 2 years in the making. And when you may say, 2 years in the making, BZ, what are you talking about? What I did is I got very curious about Benghazi. And I went back to a number of my posts. And I began a while ago to attempt to assemble everything together. Mary Brockman makes an excellent point, by the way. Wash your hands before you tip the waitress. She always appreciates that. Very true. Mike in chat also said, "Hi, BZ. Has Sean and Demi made up yet?" And I have to be honest, before I get to, I know I'm diverting all over the place, but the truth will out. Demi has apparently abandoned the SHR studios when Sean had the family dog over here, Kona. Demi, the cat, the calico cat, was not apparently enamored with Sackhead Sean's choice of animal. And apparently she sensed that she was now placed in number 2 position. And after that, I guess she became offended and has not been back to the studio yet. Now, to get back to Benghazi. I assembled all of this information, began to look at it, and it led in what I would conclude is one very specific direction. And before I get into it, I want to preface the special report with this. There's a lot of material in here tonight, and there won't be any audio cuts per se in the material as I present it under the special report. So what I'm going to recommend is, for those of you who are listening live or are in the chat room or in YouTube or Facebook or are listening later, because I get many hits later in podcast, as you go through this, it will take, I'm assuming it'll take the bulk of the hour. And it's one of these things where it will require you to pay some attention and understand how it is that I'm attempting to connect all the dots, because if you think there's 5 or 6, you would be terribly wrong. The dots are all over the place, but they're there for you to see and to understand and to connect and to make the necessary requisite links. The information is there. As basically I'll say in the wrap up to this thing is, how is it that one ancient guy like me can dig around on the internet, use myself essentially and my other previous internet sources as a resource, and then, unlike the rest of the American media maggots, I can lead you to a conclusion, and I'm proffering a hypothesis to you, and I'm asking you to check my sources, to check to see if you believe this information is correct. But I've done what I consider to be my level best to make sure that I assemble the information in a proper and logical, and as much as I can, a bit of a chronological fashion, give it to you, let you go back if you want, check the sources, check the things that I've said, and if it appears that I'm lining things up properly, then I've done my job to present the information to you and then let you make whatever kind of decision that you want to make yourself.
This is an SHR Media Network special report.
What I started with is this. If you remember Bo Bergdahl, he was released in exchange for 5 Taliban generals in order to cover up the Obama-Hillary Stinger missile sale to Libya. That's where the story begins. Welcome to Whiskey Dale. Good to see you in here. And it then subsequently leads to Benghazi, the 4 Americans that were killed in Benghazi at the consulate on September 11th of 2012. And so I present for your edification and illumination what I consider to be the true story about Benghazi, but it started in another place for me entirely. The real story is this. Ambassador Stevens was sent to Benghazi to secretly retrieve U.S.-made Stinger missiles that the State Department of the United States had supplied to Ansar al-Sharia in Libya without congressional oversight or approval or permission. Secretary, and I'm going to name names tonight, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had brokered the Libya deal through Ambassador Stevens, and this is another very important link to an individual that I'd written about earlier, and until I remembered another series, I'm going to mention a name to you, and I didn't put it all together until I remembered that I had written about this individual a couple of years ago. I'll go back. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton brokered the Libya deal through Ambassador Stevens and a private arms dealer by the name of Mark Turi, M-A-R-C-T-U-R-I, if you want to go and search for him on the internet. But some of the shoulder-fired Stinger missiles ended up in Afghanistan, where they were used against our own military personnel. I didn't see it then, as I indicated, but this is from a post that I wrote back on October 5th of 2016. I had not yet assembled all the information, but I apparently was pointing myself in the right direction. The headline of the post that I wrote was DOJ is corrupt again, covering for Clinton and Obama and connecting the dots. Once again, there is no aspect of Obama's D.C. that isn't corrupt to the bone, and that includes, sadly, the FBI as well as continuing corruption at the DOJ. From Politico.com, the Obama DOJ drops charges against the alleged provider of Libyan weapons by Ken Vogel and Josh Gerstein. Arms dealer had threatened to expose Hillary Clinton's talks about arming anti-Gaddafi rebels. The Obama administration is moving to dismiss charges against an arms dealer it had accused itself of selling weapons that were destined for Libyan rebels. Lawyers for the Justice Department on Monday filed a motion in federal court in Phoenix to drop the case against the arms dealer, an American named Mark Turi, T-U-R-I, whose lawyers also signed the motion. Here come the two most important paragraphs in the entire story. The deal averts a trial that threatened to cast additional scrutiny on Hillary Clinton's private emails as Secretary of State and to expose reported CIA attempts to arm rebels fighting Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Just as Hillary has apparently Shiite on Obama, Mark Turi has Shiite on Obama and Hillary. Therefore, the DOJ was directed by Attorney General Loretta Lynch via D.C. and Mr. Obama to drop the case that could further damage D.C., Obama, and Clinton, and that's how it's played. A Thierry associate asserted that the government dropped the case because the proceedings could have embarrassed Clinton and President Barack Obama by calling attention to the reported role of their administration in supplying weapons that fell into the hands of Islamic extremist militants. Now, this is information that you may have heard before, but considered it not really very much, or just let it go in passing. Hillary Clinton, as Secretary of State, blinkered Libya and essentially had Muammar Gaddafi killed, who actually for the longest time had been keeping himself quiet following the 1986 bombing of Libya under Reagan in retaliation for a Berlin disco bombing where a U.S. serviceman was killed. Gaddafi got in line. He disarmed, and he gave up his nuclear program and WMD in 2003 under Bush, and otherwise became a much quieter guy because he saw what happened in Iraq. Thierry advisor Robert Strike, and if you want to check this on the internet, do so as well, Robert Strike, S-T-R-Y-K, of the government relations and consulting firm SPG, accused the government of trying to scapegoat Thierry to cover up Clinton's mishandling of Libya. This is a quote. The U.S. government spent millions of dollars, went all over the world to bankrupt him and destroyed his life, all to protect Hillary Clinton's crimes, he said, alluding to the deadly September 11, 2012 terrorist attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi, Libya. This is worth noting as well. WikiLeaks heard Julian Assange in July suggested that he had emails proving that Clinton pushed the flows of weapons, quote, going over to Syria. She knew of and had a hand in the gun-running scheme which originated from the Oval Office, Obama's Oval Office. Now, because of the U.S. involved in gun-running again, not unlike something we've seen before, Fast and Furious, which resulted, by the way, in the death of United States Border Patrol agent Brian Terry, asses had to be covered, secrets had to be kept, and lives, unfortunately, were lost once more. This time, 4 lives. 4 Americans. And I'm sure you can begin to see how dirty and squalid and contemptuous this is. Now it all starts to come together. The information dovetails and dots can be connected. It's intertwined and rife with Democrat corruption on every level. Items and incidents that you initially thought unconnected have now been linked or are going to be linked very shortly. Benghazi had to be minimized because it involved gun running by the United States government under Barack Hussein Obama, not unlike Iran-Contra, for those of you old enough to remember, under President Reagan. The running meme had to be an anti-Islamic video, if you remember that, because Obama had already made a statement out there in the ozone, and he said that he already had Al-Qaeda on the run, and anything not in keeping with that meme couldn't be tolerated. But that was only one aspect of it. Then came the gun-running scheme from Obama and his Secretary of State, Hillary Rodham Clinton. The New York Times had already published in December of 2012, almost 2 months following the attack on the Benghazi compound, September 11, 2012, the New York Times published this article by James Risen, Mark Mazzetti, and Michael Schmidt. And the headline is, U.S.-approved arms for Libya rebels fell into jihadis' hands. Washington. The Obama administration secretly gave its blessing to arms shipments to Libyan rebels from Qatar last year. But American officials later grew alarmed as evidence grew that Qatar was turning some of the weapons over to Islamic militants, according to United States officials and foreign diplomats. Now, that was 2012. No one yet knew about Hillary and her private servers, her private emails, and the reason for their existence. So, the New York Times also wrote, no evidence has emerged linking the weapons provided by the Qataris during the uprising against Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi to the attack that killed 4 Americans at the United States diplomatic compound in Benghazi, Libya in September. Except that on September 11, 2012, following that attack, neither Barack Hussein Obama or Hillary Rodham Clinton knew quite what to do, realizing full well that their gun-running scheme had backfired. Again, asses had to be covered since the attack had not been anticipated, and the lying commenced immediately. You remember Susan Rice. Susan Rice was briefed in terms of the talking points for the Sunday news shows, whilst simultaneously, Hillary Clinton, if you recall, emailed her own daughter, Chelsea, giving her daughter the alias of Diane Reynolds, to me indicative of a clear consciousness of guilt, the very night of the attack, and wrote that 2 officers had been killed, attributing the attack directly to, quote, an al-Qaeda-like group. Hillary Clinton and her daughter both knew the truth, yet Hillary Clinton spun lies from the very beginning, meant to be consumed by the public, you and me, that the attack was a spontaneous reaction to an anti-Islamic video created right here in the United States of America. Do you remember this? When Hillary Clinton said this, "We've seen that rage and violence directed at American embassies over an awful internet video," Hillary Clinton said, "lying to America directly to your face." Then she lied to the faces of the parents of the dead Benghazi soldiers. Susan Rice lied, Hillary Clinton lied, and Barack Obama let them both carry his water. Why is that? It's because Barack Hussein Obama had already made promises. He had al-Qaeda on the run, by God. And what was coming up that you remember historically? Oh, that's right. Barack Hussein Obama was up for re-election in 2012. The fix was in, yet at the same time, the complications were beginning to snowball. Things were actually starting to unravel for Hillary Clinton, even to the extent that Christopher Stevens was present to facilitate and monitor some of those acts. And because of secrecy, Christopher Stevens and 3 other Americans had to be sacrificed in order to keep that secrecy. This is terrible. There are even indicators to suggest that Ambassador Stevens may have been killed with weapons that he helped to facilitate or broker. Hillary Clinton's emails could not be exposed because they not only illustrated that she was conducting Clinton Foundation business through her Secretary of State private email in order to keep that secret as well, but because I suspect that there's also information contained within those emails about Benghazi and gun running. And those were the emails classified as secret. Stop. I have another story later on about more emails in those servers that she kept that were classified higher than top secret. That just came out recently within the past 2 days. I'll get to that story as well. The emails were classified as secret and will not be released for 2 reasons. One is that it would show Hillary Clinton's complicity, and number 2, where does that go? Where does that lead to? Obviously, you're thinking as well as I that it would show Obama's complicity as well. So initially, Clinton likely had the server set up to hide the pay-to-play activities conducted during her tenure as Secretary of State. But it also had this wonderful little bonus of enabling her to hide her inevitable failures in the Libyan role, evidenced by her duplicity involving the Benghazi terror attacks. Even worse, we learned that Barack Hussein Obama sent and received emails. Listen to this, you may not have realized. Barack Obama sent and received emails to Hillary's private server under an alias because of FBI records released on Friday, September 23rd. Now, at that time, Obama had no idea that the subject of Hillary's private server would become any sort of an issue. Even so, when this was discovered, the State Department refused to disclose the content of Obama's emails, citing the presidential communications privilege, a kind of executive privilege designed to help foil, FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests. So you see how large and juggernaut-like this snowball becomes, and why both Hillary and Obama continued to perpetuate lies and cover-ups, insisting that their lackeys do the same. Things didn't get better on the email front, they only got worse, thanks to Republicans like Trey Gowdy, Jason Chaffetz, and Darrell Issa, who were pretty tenacious, and luckily they refused to give up, because the Democrats certainly didn't want to follow any of this up. Despite the constant clangor of the American media maggots that there's nothing to see here, this is not the corruption you're looking for, just move on, move on. Well, what lackeys were involved? Well, that would include Attorney General Loretta Lynch, FBI Director James Comey, and pretty much a good portion of the entire Department of Justice. Now you begin to understand why Comey, in his is what I consider to be his completely fundamentally flawed reasoning, yet still setting out, some meaty hooks from which to hang Hillary Clinton that didn't happen. That's why James Comey determined he was not going to recommend an indictment for Clinton, and why, in her own way, Loretta Lynch threw James Comey, Jimmy the Leak, under the bus when she was saying that she would abide by whatever conclusions he makes. Stop right there for a second. That's like your local district attorney on a case of massive import deciding that, police department, whatever you say, I don't need to go into it, whatever you say on this case, I'll go along with. So apparently that had some political ramifications. She knew the deed was done and the fix was in. She'd received, the phone call. They both understood what was at stake overall. Now, their own political asses were on the line. Bill Clinton's, air quotes, coincidental meeting at the airport with Lynch was nothing more than a confirmation of this line. The fix most definitely was in. And why was that important? Because it's another in a long line of links. Let's not forget the approval for destruction by the FBI of laptops belonging to former Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills and ex-campaign staffer Heather Samuelson in an exchange for immunity, which also limits the FBI's search to no later than January 31st, 2015. Go to the internet. Look it up. Quote, this meant investigators could not review documents for the period after the email server became public, in turn preventing the Bureau from discovering if there was any evidence of obstruction of justice. Well, let's go back. Let's utilize a little common sense here. We got about a minute before the bottom of the hour break. So let me make a final point, if I can, before the break. And, of course, we'll be coming right back because this is an SHR special report tonight on Benghazi, connecting the dots. When you talk about immunity, immunity is provided for testimony. Did we see any testimony from Chief of Staff, Hillary's Chief of Staff, Cheryl Mills, and ex-campaign staffer Heather Samuelson? Did we see that testimony? Well, you can't take the fifth because due to the immunity itself, it's not self-incrimination. So you got to ask yourself one question. One very important question is, where is the testimony of Mills and Samuelson? And why would you destroy evidence? Why would you destroy the laptops? The very concept of immunity is to collect and keep evidence, not to destroy it. The only possible purpose would be to permanently dispose of prejudicial evidence against Obama, Clinton, Lynch, Comey, Thierry, and all of those other people as well.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
and all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. That's where we can be found right now if you want to listen or watch the show. Go to the SHR Media Facebook page. It's live streaming. Go to the SHR Media YouTube channel. It's live streaming there right now. Thanks to Mike in chat, Mary Brockman in chat, Whiskey Dale in chat, and one viewer who we will not unmask because that's not what we do here in the saloon. The topic tonight, this is an SHR Media special report, Benghazi connecting the dots. And I initially decided that I wanted to do this because Benghazi has come up. And the issue of Benghazi has not been solved, so to speak, and everyone has dropped it. And I found that abjectly horrible because there is so much corruption involved in this. And in my opinion, it leads directly to the top. More information has come to light. And I thought it was time that I connect the dots for everyone here. Hence the SHR Media special report tonight. I was last talking about the immunity given to Hillary Clinton Chief of Staff Cheryl Mills and the ex-campaign staffer Heather Samuelson. And the FBI approved the destruction of laptops belonging to those two people in exchange for immunity. Except that I didn't see any testimony. Immunity is provided for testimony. I didn't see testimony. Where is the testimony of any type of Mills or Samuelson? And like I mentioned, why provide immunity? The purpose of that is to collect evidence, not to destroy it. And as I indicated before the break, the only purpose that I can conjure is to permanently get rid of evidence against Obama, Hillary Clinton, Loretta Lynch, James Comey, Mark Thierry, and a whole bunch of other people as well. And that also occurred because of this email address, hdr22@clintonemail.com. HDR, if you want to investigate this, again, to see if I'm correct, hdr22@clintonemail.com. That was Hillary Rodham Clinton's private email address. That's the one that Gawker discovered by way of Sidney Blumenthal's hacked emails by way of Guccifer. And that's kind of how this all started. Ruh-roh. The lies, the corruption, the deceit, the foul and the noxious, the malodorous stench of continued cover-ups conducted in plain sight, aided and abetted by the American media maggots is obvious, it's staggering, and of much greater proportion than anything imagined by Richard Nixon in the 70s, right? Because absolutely no one died behind Watergate. Which leads us to the news that our blessed DOJ decided not to prosecute Mark Thierry because the Obama Oval Office knows he would spill beans, and why Obama must continue to support, defend, and protect Hillary Rodham Clinton, as she too, my guess would be, if pushed, would spill beans as well. And this is a very important statement and very important sentence. You cannot indict or convict Hillary Rodham Clinton unless you also indict or convict Barack Hussein Obama. But as I want to say, but wait, there's more. Let's go back to the missiles. I'll connect even more dots for you, okay? On July 25th of 2012, a U.S. Chinook helicopter was downed by one of those missiles. But it wasn't destroyed because the idiot Taliban dude didn't arm the missile. The helicopter didn't explode, but it had to land, and an ordnance team recovered the missile's serial number, which led back to a cache of Stinger missiles kept in Qatar by the CIA. So let me repeat that so that you can clearly see the connection. An ordnance team recovered the missile's serial number, which led back to a cache of Stinger missiles kept in Qatar by the CIA. Obama and Hillary about this time were in full pants-shitting hysteria, or PSH mode. So Ambassador Stevens was sent to Benghazi to retrieve the rest of the Stinger missiles. This is where it becomes a little bit more complicated. but I have done the connections necessary for you. This turned out to be kind of a do-or-die mission, and that explains the stand-down orders given to multiple rescue teams during the siege of the U.S. consulate there in Benghazi. It was the State Department, let me emphasize this. It was the State Department, not the CIA, that supplied the Stinger missiles to our sworn enemies. Because General David Petraeus, hang on to that name, General David Petraeus at the CIA would not approve supplying those deadly Stinger missiles due to their potential use against commercial aircraft. Here's another link. So, Barack Hussein Obama threw General David Petraeus under the bus when Petraeus refused to testify in support of Obama's phony claim of a spontaneous uprising caused by a YouTube video that insulted Muslims. Do you remember David Petraeus getting kicked to the curb by the Obama administration? Now perhaps you have an inkling as to why that might be. So I'm assuming it's making more sense to you now. Everything is, again, intricately interwoven and leads to so many other places and so many other persons. And yeah, there's more. The quick point is this: Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, in my opinion, committed treason. And they conspired. This is what the investigation is all about. Why Hillary Rodham Clinton had a private server in order to delete the digital evidence, and why Obama, 2 weeks after the attack, told the United Nations that the attack was the result of a YouTube video, though everybody then knew it was not. Remember the email that Hillary Clinton sent the night of the attack to her own daughter saying, yeah, it's not a video, it's an attack on our consulate. And then Susan Rice, that Sunday, went out to all the news shows to spew her lies as well. But again, wait. There's more. Okay. The Taliban knew that the administration had aided and abetted the enemy without congressional oversight or permission. Hey, welcome to White Mamba in chat. Good to see you. And unmasked someone, unmasked guest. That's right. The Taliban knew the administration had aided and abetted the enemy without congressional oversight or permission, so they want their pound of flesh as well. Sort of their own very, very aptly named Merchant of Venice, Shakespearean pound of flesh. They knew that there was no congressional oversight or permission. So they began to pressure, let me translate that for you. They began to blackmail the Obama administration, because they were blackmailable, to release, go back to the original title of the special report, to release the 5 Taliban generals being held at Guantanamo. So, what was Bo Bergdahl? How did he play into this? Because he did have a role. Bo Bergdahl was just a useful pawn to cover the release of the 5 Taliban generals. Everybody knew that Bo Bergdahl was a traitor, but Obama used Bergdahl's exchange for the 5 Taliban generals to cover the fact that Obama was being coerced by the Taliban because of the unauthorized Stinger missile transaction. Well, I guess that Taliban, they're not quite that stupid after all, are they? The summary again is this. In my opinion, Barack Hussein Obama was a traitor, as POTUS, who was not only corrupt, but he was compromised as well. And the U.S. possessed a Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, who was and is a serial liar who perjured herself multiple times at the congressional hearings on Benghazi. So you have to keep asking yourself, questions. You have to have a curious mind, something that the American media maggots today don't, because they don't want this uncovered. But you and me, we have to keep asking questions because we have common sense. For example, why no military aircraft were called upon for help in Benghazi? I submit that one of those reasons is because the administration knew that our enemies they possessed Stinger missiles that, if used to down those planes, would likely be traced back again to the CIA cache in Qatar and then to the State Department's illegitimate arms deal in Libya. Doesn't that also tend to explain a lot with regard to President Trump as well? And about this time, you're probably saying something similar to, BZ, I don't get it. How does this all link up to Trump? I've continuously said since 2016 that what's occurring now basically is a soft coup against a presidential nominee, a president-elect, and a sitting president. It's clear to me that the Democrats were encountering PSH, pants-shitting hysteria. They were panic-stricken, even though they were fairly certain in 2016 that Trump was not going to get elected. They also decided that they were going to ensure that they placed a series of preset minefields in the way of Donald Trump and his election team, just because they could. And why not? Why wouldn't they? See, up to that point, they had literally gotten away with murder. Sadly, the murder of 4 fellow Americans in Benghazi. On Wednesday, November 9th of 2016, however, Mary Brockman, good night. Thanks for being here. On Wednesday, November 9th of 2016, the worst scenario of all occurred. Hillary Clinton was not elected president. And the guy with a dead orange cat on his head, Donald John Trump, was elected by way of essentially the Electoral College. A blunt, brusque, crass, bull in the china shop non-politician who was as unpredictable as he wasn't controllable. Not only was he despised for all of that, how dare an insider gain access to the Oval Office? But it was discovered and then confirmed that, okay, let's think about Donald Trump. Okay, let's see. He can't be bought. He can't be shamed. He couldn't be threatened. He couldn't be brought down by lawsuit. He couldn't be scandalized. He couldn't be robbed of cash. And he couldn't be embarrassed. What the hell? What do you do? He couldn't be brought down by all of the so-called normal ways that had worked on so many other previous Republicans or conservatives in the past. Most all of those guys they possessed the sense to cave and creep away silently with their tails between their legs. Not President Trump. He was Teflon and continues to be Teflon. Nothing stuck. Worse yet, he fought back. He didn't take this crap lying down. Further, he doubled down. He didn't mind getting in the mud and the blood and the beer with everybody else. He, dare I say it, he kind of enjoys it, actually. But because he was the worst twofer ever conjured by the political elite in D.C., on both sides of the aisle, oh no, not just the Democrat side, the Republicans as well, the McCain, Flake, Crystal, blah, 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 Republicans, you know, those guys, the ones I call the establa-hacks. He was the worst twofer. Trump was the worst twofer ever conjured by the political elite because of those two things. He was uncontrollable and unpredictable. And the situation was worse for Democrats, deep staters, and those who had just about everything to lose from the incidents of that prior administration, the Barack Hussein Obama administration. So, yeah, starting to come to the conclusion of this. It's about removing a brash and crude interloping outsider like Donald Trump. But it's also about this as well. It's also about ensuring that he doesn't go digging around and exposing the reality of the Obama presidency. It's lies, it's treachery, it's betrayal, it's corruption, it's traitorous actions. And there is nothing more craven, and I should emphasize, nothing more dangerous than someone or a series of someones who find themselves cornered and about to be exposed. They're going to stop at just about nothing. So you got to witness the events of about the past almost 3 years now. Because of this, if Hillary Clinton had been elected, we'd know little, if anything, about what really occurred during the Obama years. But moreover, I guess this is sort of my point here. If I can tie this all together and come to these conclusions and know and reveal this information and connect the dots for you, why can't the media? I'm no one special. I'm an old, fat, retired guy who has a brain, but I tend to use it to connect the dots, you see. So you know the answer, and the answer is this. The American media maggots don't want to tie it all up to connect the dots. Because you have to remember this kind of final mantra and the stakes that are involved. You cannot indict or convict Hillary Rodham Clinton unless you also indict or convict Barack Hussein Obama. And the LDAM, what I call the LDAM, the leftists, the Democrats, and the American media maggots, they will not be a part of anything having to do with the sullying of the first black president of the United States of America. They'll do anything and everything to ensure that does not happen. So, in my estimation, we can never forget the Benghazi attack of September 11th, 2012. Never forget former Navy SEALs Glenn Doherty and Tyrone Woods, as well as information specialist Sean Smith and Ambassador Christopher Stevens. And never forget the depth and breadth of treachery into which the LDAM will travel in order to hold secrets, and the deep state, in order to hold secrets and keep power and control, which then yields money. Lots of it. In D.C., it's all about power and control. And then the money stems from that. And in my opinion, that's what this is all about. And as I indicate, can you possibly imagine what would have happened if, Hillary Clinton had been elected? Now, I told you earlier that following the special report, and I've got about 5 more minutes before the top of the hour break, I told you that there's more updated information that just came in. Let's see, when is this? That I discovered, I went digging around for. This is from Business Insider, and this is something that a lot of people didn't hear about. But from Business Insider, the headline is, some of the emails on Clinton's private server were reportedly even more classified than top secret. Emails that passed through Hillary Clinton's private server while she served as U.S. Secretary of State reportedly contained intelligence so sensitive that it has since been marked beyond top secret. The network, I think it was Fox Network, reported on the contents of a letter authorized by Intelligence Community Inspector General Charles McCullough, the January letter of last year, to senior lawmakers has not been made public. To date, I've received 2 sworn declarations from one intelligence community element. These declarations cover several dozen emails containing classified information determined by the IC element to be at the confidential, secret, and top secret SAP levels. Okay, now SAP levels refer to special access programs, SAPs, that are meant to safeguard information deemed even more classified than top secret. I have a Kurt Schlichter article that I want to read before we go into, I think Sackhead Sean wants to come in and talk after the first hour. And I think I can do this pretty quickly because this is an apropos article by Kurt Schlichter about the events that occurred the day after Christmas. And it's frustrating. It's and to a lot of free-thinking, liberty-loving Americans across the United States. But there are consequences, and Democrats are making us normal people pay those consequences. Kurt Schlichter writes, "What's a few more dead Americans if it means the Dems can score a few more political points? Corporal Ronald Singh is dead, apparently murdered by a gang member who was here illegally and who stayed here illegally despite having been busted twice for DUIs. Thank you for ensuring that happened, Democrats. And thank you too, Fredicons, for so ably doing the bidding of your corporate donor cronies who desperately want to keep the foreigner spigot open. Liberals need pliable, reliable replacement voters to buy off with your tax money, and the captains of industry want a pool of eager serfs. The illegals themselves just want to get out of the crummy countries whose policies Democrats expect they are willing to vote for here in El Norte. Gosh, it seems the only people who want the tsunami of illegal aliens to subside are us normal Americans. But then, as with elites' endless wars and ruinous social experimentation, we normals get stuck with the check for the costs and have to pay it with our money and our blood. Kate Steinle, Jamil Shaw, Molly Tibbetts, now Corporal Singh. Oh, and let's not forget the tens of thousands of our sons and daughters ODing on the fentanyl that crosses and flows over the wide-open border. But all that death, that doesn't really mean anything. It's much more important for the Dems and the Never-Trumpers to score some points on Donald Trump and on you. No wall because Trump promised it, and if they can break his will, then they can read my lips their way to a victory for whatever pinko heartthrob wins the 2020 donkey nomination. No wall because they got to replace you uppity American voters with new ones who are willing to submit. No wall, no matter how many American citizens have to die. Every day that they refuse to allow the man we elected president to fulfill the most basic functions of a national government securing its national borders, they make a deliberate choice to accept more dead Americans. Oh, and more crime. Yeah, poverty and welfare costs, too. They're willing to let it all happen because their power means much, 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 much more to them than your prosperity, your security, oh, yeah, and your life. They won't say it aloud, of course, but the way to out liars is not to listen to what they say, but to watch what they do. And what they do is everything they can to ensure illegals can get in, and that once they get in, we can't get them out. In a country where the ruling class gave a damn about those it governs, the scumbag who murdered Corporal Singh would never have snuck in, and if he had, he would have been tossed before racking up 2 DUIs, but he wasn't. California's a sanctuary state. It's not a sanctuary for citizens like you. When they want to strip American citizens of our Second Amendment rights and, not coincidentally, our ability to resist them, they howl that disarming all of us would be worth it if it just saved one life. It's a stupid talking point with regard to the Bill of Rights because even if rights were subject to a cost-benefit ratio balancing test, which they aren't, the fact is that only a fraction of the 300 million plus arms that our citizens keep and bear will ever be used in a crime. But what about saving just one American citizen's life from murderous foreigners who, as opposed to our freedom-preserving weapons, are not even supposed to be here? Unlike the American patriots exercising their gun rights, every single alien illegal alien is a criminal just for illegally entering and or remaining. Then they also need fake IDs to function. Identity theft is a crime, at least for you and me. Then there's the voter fraud, the welfare fraud, the property crimes, and the violent crimes. Oh, not all illegals are violent criminals, but every single one spits on our laws we the people enacted via our elected representatives. So what do you call it when the government ignores the law, which is the will of the people expressed through the legislature that we voted for? It's sure not a republic. In order to keep those illegals flowing in our miserable elite, they're willing to let democracy die, as they are to let you die. Who thinks, okay, members of the audience, who thinks this is going to end well? Anybody? It won't. It can't. The American people are not blind. They see the truth, and they're not going to be denied justice forever. The election of Donald Trump was not the worst case scenario. It was a first case scenario. What comes next, if the elite keep denying the will of the people, will be even more disruptive, even more divisive. They might win today's skirmish over the wall, but tomorrow there will be new corpses and greater anger. The elite's selfish and cruel sacrifice of the lives and lifestyles of American citizens risks tearing the United States apart. And Kurt Schlichter writes, my novels about our country splitting apart into red and blue nations and the resulting chaos, they're supposed to be fiction. But treating us as acceptable collateral damage in the liberal quest for power, well, it looks like it could make those horrors a reality.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics,
oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. SHRmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you're listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show live and direct right here from the SHR Media Studios, where I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, 2 miles east of the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the Capitol building, the Bill Mill in Sacramento, Fornicalia. And from there, at night, as I leave through that door, I will open it and I will smell the noxious, terrible vapors of evil that waft all through Sacramento. And now, with no further ado, if I can get the mouse to work, one thing we found, I should say, is that, no, give credit where credit is due. One thing that Sackhead Sean found, and he told about me, was that the reason we're having micey problems, mouse right here, is because the mouse was a little bit too far away from the computer, which now sits down below the desk right down here. We've got a big desktop kind of computer which runs the show now. And so I'm trying to have to relearn using the mouse in my left hand to keep it closer to the computer so that it doesn't freeze up. And I'm not a left-handed kind of guy. You're not either, are you? You're not you're a righty.
I'm absolutely left-handed.
Are you left-handed?
I most certainly am.
Son of a bitch.
But you know what's funny is...
Okay, so you can do the mouse thing over here just fine.
No, and it's weird. My left hand, I can write and hammer nails into a board with my fist. My dexterity in my hand, on my left hand, is very, very minimal compared to my right. Growing up, I did a lot of things right-handed. It wasn't because like my parents hit my hands or tried to make me right-handed or whatever.
Okay, because I had a girlfriend that used to happen.
Right. It's just the way it was. When you went to play with friends and you used their baseball glove or whatever, they were right-handed. Or all that stuff. Right. Everything was made for right-handed people.
Right.
I shoot right-handed.
That was my next question.
Absolutely shoot right-handed. I do so many things right-handed. It's not even funny.
But you write
like a child,
left-handed.
Yes.
Okay.
But it does in fact look like a small child wrote it. You've seen my writing. It's terrible.
Okay, so there's something of right brain, left brain, and it's said that some people who write with their left hands, they access certain areas of the brain better than other people.
Yes.
And the same with people that are right-brained, left brain, right brain, that kind of thing. As my blog says, right thinking from a left brain. So right thinking kind of has to do with the logic of it.
Right.
The left brain has to do with the emotive side or whatnot. But you can't say for certainty without a doubt that you are most deaf, left-brained or right-brained. You're kind of down the old crack.
I utilize both sides.
You're kind of the old brain crack.
I do. I get the most out of my brain, in theory.
Whiskey Dale says, bats right, throws left. So what do you bat?
I actually bat left, and I throw left.
You bat left and throw left.
I play baseball left. I play hockey right. I throw a football left-handed. I do a lot of things. Yeah, I can't explain it.
Just for shits and grins, did you ever try to throw a baseball or a football right-handed?
I can.
You can.
I can. I absolutely
as well.
Can. Not as well, but
Not
I
as
can.
well. Okay.
I don't do like the limp-wristed Tyrannosaurus Rex arm like you see a lot of people when they throw offhand.
Right.
Because I did play baseball right-handed for a while, so I can actually come over the top and I can throw, and I can actually throw a little bit of a curveball right-handed. It's just there's not as much power or control over it.
Okay.
But
so you couldn't be a right-handed quarterback then?
I could not be a right-handed quarterback. I played goaltender when I played hockey, and I played that from a right-handed setup.
Wow, you did kind of everything.
Yeah, it was a lot of times. It was
you got into the hockey thing too.
When I learned to play a sport or do any activity, a lot of times it was with what the equipment was that was available, and usually it was right-handed.
Yeah, that's most of the stuff that is available. Well, in elementary school,
especially in elementary school. Yeah,
going to high school.
I went to public schools.
So that's where you would have played the bulk of your sports.
You know, and just all through my whole life. And sometimes that's just the way it worked out.
See, now me going over here using my left hand to try to put you on the screen,
is
the
magic.
Big screen. I have to be. I just don't have the dexterity in my left hand, the control to be able to do that. The other thing I've noticed, and I know that you've been working on this computer more recently, is that. Do you think, and I know we've had some issues with the mouse and it became very frustrating for you, but you have to physically move this mouse around. Is it time to get one of those Mises that sit somewhere and you just kind of roll the ball around on it?
We absolutely could look at a trackball setup, and you can swap them out. You can have them both plugged in at the same time, and whichever one you want to use, you can use. So,
but we still have to get it closer to the confuser down here then.
Absolutely closer to that confuser.
Okay. Well, I have to say it really hasn't.
You know what it has to do is
it hasn't been messing up.
That desk is so legit and old school.
It is,
it's
folks.
Made from hardwood.
Yeah.
And the signal just does. It really blocks the signal out from underneath there.
Yeah. Folks can't really see. They can see maybe a little bit of this right here. This is about 1.5 inches thick top. An old, heavy wooden desk. And I guess you may as well have made it out of concrete for the ability of the dongle to send its information from the confuser up to the stupid, Mark 1 Model 1 micey mice here.
That word confuser, dongle just makes me laugh.
I know.
I want to apologize to all your listeners up front watching.
I had a dongle once, but it got better.
It's a different animal.
I know.
If you see me wincing and moving around, I'm 11 days or 12 days out of surgery. I'm pretty sore still. So if anyone sees me like wincing and moving around, it's not because BZ has me like hooked up to electrodes or anything like that. I'm just still in a lot of pain, and I'm trying to stay comfortable as much as possible.
Okay. Gesundheit. Gesundheit.
Danke.
Hey, I got to do this because it's customary to the show.
Yes.
Folks, what time is it?
It's time for happy stories and good times.
Here's a story from the Herald Net. The plan was to steal tools, then customers drew their guns. Marysville police are asking for the people who shot at the getaway car to come forward. Just to say that. Who shot at the getaway car? I like that. Marysville. The plan was simple. Steal tools and pawn them for money. That's what two men, 22 and 23, reportedly had in mind when they showed up to the Coastal Farm and Ranch store in Marysville on Saturday afternoon, according to a police report. They allegedly took 4 nail guns, each worth about $400, walked out of the store and got into a Honda Civic. They didn't expect to be surrounded by about 6 customers with guns raised. I'm sorry.
I love it.
You gotta love the hell out of that.
How can you not?
No, you have to? One customer was standing in front of the car yelling at the alleged thieves to get out. He won't shoot, run him over, one of the suspects reportedly said. The driver pulled forward, causing the man confronting him to land on the hood, court papers said. Another customer shot at the driver's side front tire, according to documents. A third fired twice at the rear tire. Somebody shot at the car one more time as it left the parking lot, records say. An employee saw the car leaving and drove after the theft suspects. He said he saw one of the men lean out the passenger window and hold up what looked like a gun. The employee stopped chasing the men and went back to the store. Marysville police found the theft suspect's car unoccupied about 3 blocks away. 2 flat tires and the tools inside. Both men were apprehended after a search. They denied having a gun. Seeing the employees follow them, police found no firearms in the car. The men also denied hitting anybody with their car. Security tape, however, showed a vehicle striking someone, according to the police report. The police say at this time they're looking for the customers who happened to shoot at the automobile. You've heard of the Chicago political machine, Sackhead Sean, have you not?
I have.
And you've heard about Robert Daley and the political machine that he kept well-oiled for years and years and years, did you not? Let me ask you this, and if you haven't, folks, you need to. Did you ever see or hear of the series Boss with Kelsey Grammer?
No, I actually saw a few episodes. I didn't really get into it, but I think a lot of it was just based on work schedule and lack of DVR at the time.
Okay, here's the deal. I don't know if you can access it, and I'm going to have to look and research as to what thing had it, whether it was through Showtime or HBO or whatever the hell.
I think it was Showtime.
Okay. Boss was with Kelsey Grammer. It only lasted 2 seasons. It was great. But essentially it was a Richard Daley-like character running Chicago. And Kelsey Grammer in this was fabulous. So, folks, if you have the opportunity, I don't know exactly where you'd find it these days. I don't even know if you'd find it on Netflix. But if it's out there, check for Boss by Kelsey Grammer. It's great, which gets us back to the next happy story. And this is from theblacksphere.net. Conservative student, college student, takes on the Chicago machine and wins. And that's why this I found very unique. David Krupa, a 19-year-old conservative millennial DePaul University student, is running for the 13th Ward of Chicago against Democrat incumbent Marty Quinn. On its face, that doesn't seem so horrible. I mean, a 19-year-old kid, conservative? Well, no. Seems to me we got to shoot his shit down. The 13th,
way down.
Yeah, the 13th Ward Democrat organization is the most powerful ward organization in Chicago.
It is.
That's because Illinois State House Speaker Mike Madigan, a.k.a. Boss Madigan.
Boss.
That's a clue. The most powerful politician in the state runs it. And Quinn is his hand-picked man. The Chicago Tribune kind of explained it this way. To get on the ballot, Krupa, the 19-year-old kid, conservative kid, bad. To get on the ballot, Krupa was required to file 473 valid signatures of ward residents with the Chicago Board of Elections. Krupa filed 1,703 signatures.
Okay.
Okay, but before he filed his signatures
so even
with the
if
elections
they throw
board,
half out, he's okay.
Oh yeah. Basically, he filed almost 3 times what was required.
Yep.
Good for him. That's great. But before
also tells you about Chicago.
Yeah, that does. That reveals kind of something about the nature of those people willing to sign something like that.
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that. But before he filed his signatures with the elections board, an amazing thing happened along the Chicago way. Yeah, I wonder what that is. An organized crew of political workers, or maybe just civic-minded individuals who care about reform, went door to door to door with official legal papers. They asked residents to sign an affidavit revoking their signature on Krupa's petition.
What?
Huh? Revocations are serious legal documents, special and signed and notarized. Lying on a legal document is a felony and can lead to a charge of perjury. If you're convicted of perjury, you may not work for a government agency. And I know that there are many in the 13th Ward on the government payroll. More than 2,700 revocations were turned over to the Elections Board to cancel the signatures on Krupa's petitions. The Chicago Board of Elections officials had never seen such a massive pile of revocations. The number of revocations far exceeds the number of signatures that Krupa collected. That means false affidavits were filed.
What?
With the Elections Board.
How is that even possible?
In other words, the Chicago establishment not only made everyone who signed Krupa's petition recant, by doing that, they effectively kicked him off the ballot for the February 26, 2019 city elections. Imagine that. Next, the machine decided that it was going to double down on the number of revocations, creating an insurmountable barrier to keep Krupa from recouping his losses. So then Krupa got an attorney. His lawyer compared the signatures, and he found out, you'll love this,
no,
187, only 187 of the 2,700 affidavits match the 1,703 signatures submitted by Krupa. In the real world, lying on a legal document is a felony and can lead to charges of perjury, but Chicagoans don't live in the real world, so don't expect any help from the state government.
Wait, keep going.
Okay.
Interesting.
Interesting.
I have another Chicago story as soon as...
Oh, yeah. Well, I hope it's like this one. So interestingly enough, the current Attorney General for Illinois, Lisa Madigan, is the boss's daughter. But the current state controller, Susanna
It's a great song, by the
Mendoza.
way.
Yeah. The current state controller, Susanna Mendoza, who is also the current leading candidate for Chicago mayor, is a Madigan acolyte. And current mayor, this is a quote from the article, and current mayor, Dead Fish Rahm Emanuel, is a co-conspiring ally. So even longtime observers of Chicago politics are saying that they have never seen anything like this before. Son of the late Chicago boss mayor Richard J. Daley, Bill Daley actually commented and said this: "I saw your story in the 19-year-old in the 13th Ward. I mean, really? Really?" Bill Daley said in an interview on the podcast The Chicago Way. All due respect to whoever decided to challenge him, meaning Krupa, but did they really fear that the kid's going to win an aldermanic race? Bill Daley asked sarcastically. Maybe he would. Obviously, he's showing interest. Many young people don't have that desire to actually run for office. So when a member of the infamous Daley family cries foul in politics, then an obvious line has been crossed, even in Chicago. So Krupa had two options. He could wave the white flag and he could give up, or he could knuckle down and fight. And so what he decided to do was fight back. Now, you got to remember, though, this kid is a kid of Chicago, and he's not a California Republican.
No.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty clear. I'm sorry, California Republican. No, I'm not. Screw you. Krupa must have also been a fan of the movie The Untouchables, because he sidestepped this guy Quinn and charged straight at the boss himself. TheHill.com, they observed, "This is a huge perversion of democracy," David Krupa, a 19-year-old freshman at DePaul University, told The Hill's Buck Sexton on Rising. And I've listened to Buck Sexton before. He's a pretty good dude on radio. I kind of like his stuff. He said, "Michael Madigan, our state speaker, has been doing this for a long time in my ward, and we think it's really unfair. And not just unfair, but undemocratic," said Krupa. Krupa alleges that allies of his opponent, Alderman Marty Quinn, are engaging in election fraud to get him off the ballot. If the Chicago Board of Elections and the Board of Commissioners doesn't want to handle it the right way, then we'll take it to the state's attorney, Kim Fox. If she doesn't want to handle it the right way, we'll take it to the Illinois Attorney General, Krupa said. Madigan has a really good control over the courts in Illinois. So if this goes past Lisa Madigan, our Attorney General, we can't take it to the courts there. We'll have to go to the federal court, he said. I'm liking this 19-year-old kid in a lot. So in response,
I think he may show up further down our political line.
I'm starting to think so, because this kid, as Jeff might say, has chutzpah. So in response, the Quinn campaign said, not very much. Quinn's office did not acknowledge the charges of fraud, but instead attributed the withdrawal to a request from several unions. Voters deserve the opportunity to reject him, the campaign said in a statement. No one whose personal conduct and whose extreme agenda so offend the city of Chicago should have the opportunity to hide behind false claims of victimhood. In the audience, Sackhead Sean, for $500, go.
Yes, the poor people of Chicago, and this was an alderman in Chicago, correct?
Yeah.
So that's one alderman.
Yeah, he's running against Marty Quinn.
Now,
the mighty Quinn.
Have you heard of Ed Burke?
Ed Burke. No, I have not.
Ed Burke is a longtime Chicago alderman. This from ABC 7 Chicago.
Okay.
Who has...
I see how you wormed yourself in there. You insidious. That's damn good radio, mister.
As of 10:55 p.m. this report, Central Time, this report was written. So, what, an hour and a half ago?
Yeah.
Longtime Chicago alderman Ed Burke was charged Thursday with one count of attempted extortion. A 37-page criminal complaint unsealed Thursday morning alleges Burke used his powerful position of chairman of the Chicago City's Finance Committee to solicit business for his private tax law firm, Clafter and Burke. He obviously said, "I'm not guilty. I've done nothing wrong. I'll have my day in court." The records... The investigation was done by the FBI via wiretaps and a whole bunch of other information. So now you have two
investigations going on right now
on the city of Chicago.
Yeah, no problem.
I'm just saying. Not that Chicago's never been corrupt before.
No. Who's the guy that hung on to that Obama hung onto his coattails? The dude went to prison.
Yeah.
Ross anyway.
Blagojevich.
Rod Blagojevich.
Blagojevich.
So this is something I didn't see coming. The Chicago Board of Election Commissioners ruled in Krupa's favor, canceling the revocation petitions. In addition, there have been demands of a federal and state investigation. Then the Chicago Tribune editorial board wrote, before elections, federal, state, and local prosecutors routinely warn that flocks of legal eagles will fly low, looking for fraud, intimidation, discrimination, serious crimes that undercut American democracy and civilians' civil rights. The common pledge is, as the feds put it, to pursue possible infractions wherever they occur. Chicagoans are about to learn whether or not that includes their 13th ward. And now Krupa calls on Cook County State Attorney Kim Foxx to investigate, and he's asking for subpoenas of Boss Madigan and members of his campaign organization. I'm digging the crap out of this kid.
Look.
This is a good story.
This is an awesome story.
This is a happy story.
Because Chicago,
this is why I bring this stuff to people.
Chicago is very much the belly of the beast. Much as we are. As much as New York is, as much as Washington, D.C. is, Chicago is the uber left paradise. Doesn't matter how many people get killed, murdered, and shot every weekend. They don't care. Rahm Emanuel, he's really going to turn that city around some decade.
Just not this one.
And now you have young kids, like you said, a young conservative, nonetheless, who's bringing this fight and showing the dirty politics of Chicago that we all know is there, but it hasn't been proven. Well, it has, but nobody seems to really want anything to change. And now you have the Burke investigation going on, or criminal case going on as well. Chicago, I hate to tell you, if you're living in Chicago, maybe time to start thinking different.
You're getting hosed.
Well, that's been going on for years.
You're getting hosed. This is a great ending paragraph for the thing. It says, Krupa is back on the ballot. Krupa is now getting political and financial support from State Representative Gene Ives, one of the GOP's big rising guns in the state. And more importantly, and I think this is absolutely correct, he displayed pushback unlike what we've seen for years from the GOP. Yeah, Trump pushes back, but that's the nature of Trump. It's not the nature of the GOP. And this kid Krupa, 19 years old, pushed back against one of the most notorious political organizations in the entire damn country. Folks, if a 19-year-old can do this crap
and do it right,
yeah.
And he's not. It's so funny, and I know the left will get angry at me. But you see a lot of these liberal 19-year-olds walking around, I don't know, say Seattle with half a 55-gallon drum in front, dressed in all black, beating on it, calling for socialism and change. And then you see the 19-year-old conservative who's actually using the law appropriately because he was being repressed. And there's all this other stuff. I'm not saying that there's a stark difference. I'm just saying there's a stark difference.
It wasn't a crap lawsuit. He actually had a point behind it.
Very, very clear and very intelligent point.
Now, let me throw this out here to you, Sean. I have a dream.
Okay.
Where have I heard that before? Now, if only other, I don't know, political organizations would take note and maybe follow suit. Let's see, who would I be talking about? Oh, California Republicans. That's right.
Never happened.
Pointing this crap at you.
Never happened.
You're right. Unfortunately, it will never happen. I want to play something for you. I think I'm going to go to this now, if I can find it. I think it's over here.
Going through the break on the bottom of the hour?
Oh, yeah, it is the break. Doggone it. Thanks for watching.
Do I have to produce the goddamn show too?
No, thanks for watching me and taking
well,
note.
At your age, you kind of need it.
Well, that's true. That is true. But I have to tell you this. Doesn't it just seem like I got out of the break?
Right away.
It does.
Always does. Always goes quick.
Okay, so guess what?
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunitz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunitz.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic concealed carry and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR
That's
Media
probably true.
Network.
All right, this is the final half hour, final 25 minutes of the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show, live and direct right here in the SHR, the sumptuous and palatial SHR Media Network studios. Sadly, we do not have Demi the cat in here anymore. She has taken a powder on us.
You bring the dog to work a couple days.
I know, and then the cat just leaves, and the cat in the hat ain't coming back, so to speak.
Well, you know what's funny is I see her in the street. This is not an exaggeration, folks.
Okay.
I'm not kidding. I'll pull into the studio, and I'll get out of the truck, and I'll see her in the street.
I know where this is going.
And she did this to me a week and a half ago. She saw me, came hauling ass across the street like, hey, look at you. Came right up to me. I knelt down before my surgery. I started to pet her. She let me pet her for about 10 seconds. And then it was like the light went on. She was like, wait, I'm still pissed at you. And ran away.
I was going to say, I thought for sure you were going to say something like, okay, she bit me on the hand and then ran away.
It was so, I'm shocked she did not bite me on the hand.
Okay.
And yeah, I've been over here so much. I would have thought that she would eventually have found her way
that
back.
she would come back.
Nope.
She used to stay in here. She used to sleep in the She used to drink water only from the tap.
Yep.
And she'd lay in the. I have photographs of her laying in the sink, reclining in the summer because it was cool, you know, in the sink.
Yeah, she's not dumb.
So she's not a dumb cat.
Not at all.
She knows where to get cool around here.
Speaking of dumb cats.
Yes, let's talk about some dumb cats, like somebody with the initials of NP.
NP, not prudent.
No.
BZ, let me pose a question. Who has more power in the nation? The executive branch or Congress? As a whole. I'm talking Congress as a whole.
Well, you're comparing one individual, to 435 in the House,
right,
and 100 in the Senate, so 535 people.
You can even argue 101 with the vice president, should it be needed.
Oh, okay. All right. Right. Exactly. Good point in the Senate. Yep. So 536, let's say. Potentially. So let's see. One person versus 536. I don't know. To me, it seems weighted towards the one individual, but I could be like way wrong on that bad boy.
Okay, so let's push it even further.
Are you going somewhere with this? I bet you're going somewhere with this.
Who holds more power in general, the Speaker of the House or the President of the United States of America?
Today?
In general.
I'd have to answer today.
Right.
Okay.
Bing, 500, go.
Okay. All right. Wait, that's... Okay,
I don't have a bell.
I know. I bogart that thing over here.
I'm just a
I'm going to have
guest.
to buy another one, I can see. I bet it's someone with the initials NP alleging that. I could be wrong. I could be terribly, terribly, terribly wrong. You're going to correct me, though.
Newly reelected Speaker Nancy Pelosi, this is from The Hill, said in an interview published today that the Constitution considers her equal to President Trump.
Right.
Everyone just... Absorb this moment for a minute.
Take that. The pregnant. You don't. Radio doesn't do pauses very well.
The founders were morons, right?
Yeah. They just speak. Let's tell you what. Let's make the Speaker of the House
above the Vice President.
Oh, hell yeah, above the Vice President.
Way above.
And above, really, that puny president dude guy thing.
The teeth-searing dingbat went on. When Pelosi was asked whether she considered herself equal to Trump, she said, well, the Constitution does. According to the New York Times, Pelosi's position as Speaker makes her second in line for the presidency should, God forbid, something happen to Trump after Vice President Pence, according to the Constitution. The House on Thursday elected the Speaker for the second time in 12 years, a historic return to power of the nation's first female Speaker. Pelosi's re-election made her the first lawmaker to become Speaker in a non-consecutive Congresses since 1955. Pelosi, during the Times interview, recounted the White House dinner last year, which men dared speak over her. I added the dare. To which she prompted to ask, doesn't anybody listen to the women in the room? Probably, just not you, Nancy.
Yes. Just because it's personal.
She's one of those people that I want to look at her when she bitches about shit like that and be like, have you ever listened to yourself talk?
She's somewhere in YouTube, and I've played it before. There's a compendium of Nancy Pelosi doublespeak pablum words.
Yes.
And it's I can't find it right now. But I can't say that she's operating under full steam with every chunk of coal.
No, I'm pretty sure the steam cauldron might have a leak somewhere.
Yeah, I'm starting to think that these days.
Nancy went on to say, hopefully this will become a thing of the past now that we have so many women in Congress. And with the gavel, Pelosi told the Times, the gavel makes the difference. So it kills me, first and foremost, she's against guns in the hands of the average person who sometimes makes the difference when it comes to protecting their life, but the gavel can make the difference. That one item can make the difference. Secondly, I want to, oh God, for her to make the assumption that she now has equal power to the president.
Right.
Is absolutely batshit crazy.
Oh, I would suspect it's because she wants it to be that way.
Right.
Not necessarily because it is.
But she's doing what Democrats do. She's laying the groundwork for a lie because she knows all the absolute mindless zombies who vote Democrat are paying attention today. So now she's laying out the lie. This is the beginning of the Fox Piven rules for radical approach
the
to
the Cloward Piven effect.
Cloward Piven and rules for radical, where you start telling the lie repeatedly until it becomes the truth. She is now telling all these drones who are tuned in because you have the screwball from New York, the socialist who's there,
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC.
You have all of these people who are now tuned in today. She knows she has a huge, dumb audience, and just the sheep that follow. She's laid out that her position makes her equal to the president. She's just told that to them, who they will now absorb that as the word of God.
Right.
So now, when she's not getting her way, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, why can't she get her way? She's equal to the president. And that is, my friends, how you have civil disobedience begin, because now they have this belief that she is being oppressed in her position.
Very interesting.
And because she's being oppressed in her position, because she must be a woman, and that must be why they're doing it, not because she's an idiot, which is why they would do it, but she set a false table and standard. And now that whole left can be used to whip that up. Also, she is so, 12 Democrats abstained from voting for her today.
Now, see, it's interesting that you're going there. It's like you kind of walked into my head for just a moment, because one of the places that I was going to go is this. Folks, have you heard about the newest, I guess you could call it a scandal, from Bernie Sanders? So we know between, I don't know, at least a month ago and now, you can feature that Nancy Pelosi made a ton of phone calls to lean on as many people as humanly possible because she didn't get to be speaker all those years by not knowing where various skeletons are buried. So she likely, in the process of those phone calls, reminded some people of certain skeletons.
Hey.
And yet, despite that...
Remember when I made this go away?
She came through as speaker kind of by the skin of her teeth. And you're saying that 12 people abstained and said, look, I'm not going to put my name to that.
Voted present.
That's a pretty clear indicator. Now, let's go back to Bernie Sanders. That tells me she's on her way out, and she kind of sort of should be.
Oh, I don't think she... I think... A majority of Democratic voters will tell you right now that they do not want her to be speaker.
Yes.
I'm not saying that I would like their choice better because it would be more progressive.
But wouldn't you like to have been a fly in the wall?
Oh, God,
during some of those phone calls.
I want to be a fly in the wall after the vote in the back office with her.
When the topics came up of remember when, or didn't this happen, or couldn't I do this?
Well,
God, I would have loved to have tapped into something like that.
Even though she won, and this is what a narcissistic lunatic I think she is. Even though she received the votes for the speakership, I expect that when they got back to the office or one of the back rooms off the floor, that her meltdown was close to that of Hillary election night.
Yeah,
12 didn't vote for me.
Yes.
God damn it! How dare they?
There would have been. Don't you feature that there would have been shit thrown?
Oh yeah,
stuff flying through the air like a good Hillary Clinton scene.
Yes, because
I betcha
she strikes me as that type of person.
You betcha she does.
She's not cool and hip and having a beer like Elizabeth Warren is. I can almost say it. I almost said it.
Okay, I got to tell you a meme that I saw today with regard to Elizabeth Warren. I promulgated it. I sent it along the way to fill in. Okay, are you aware? You saw the video then, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this about the cookie jar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I already made a comment on this, so go on.
Okay, so Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, has officially thrown her hat. God, Freudian, stop that, BZ. BZ, stop.
In order for that to be true, there would have to be a want.
BZ, bad.
There would
BZ.
have to be a want.
Bad BZ.
I don't think there's the want there to make her that.
Don't.
Go on.
Bad BZ, don't do that anymore. So she threw her hat in the ring for President 2020.
Yes, 1/20/20th.
Despite all the stupid crap that she engendered and that she doesn't want to hear about, and she's about as Indian as my cell phone right here.
Yeah.
Okay, perhaps my cell phone perhaps some of its parts came from India, and it's more Indian than she will ever be in her entire life. Now, that having been said, she made an announcement. It looked like it was in her kitchen, kind of a spontaneous thing where she's talking about...
It was so bad.
Yeah, and did you notice? Okay, so she's in her kitchen. She starts a video. She starts talking about her campaign, what she wants to do, and she tries to drag her husband into it, but you can see that he's not really...
He doesn't think this is a good idea.
He's not really happy. He's not having much of that, and he wants to back the hell out.
My favorite part is she's like, hold on, guys.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to get a beer.
Then she decides she wants
Honey,
to
you
go
want
get
a beer? And he's like, I want no fucking part of this.
No, I don't want a beer.
And here is why. I am sure anyone involved in her campaign and exploratory committee are losing their minds right now, because that's going to come up so much after everything she said about Kavanaugh and everything that was made of Kavanaugh having a couple beers. It is going to be blown up so much. And we're not even to the point that you wanted to make yet, because that's even betterer.
Oh, it is.
But I joked online that if you watch a 2 minutes and 30 seconds in that video, you can actually see her reboot from where the program drinkbeer.exe misfired. And it's horrible. It's absolutely just horrible to watch. It was a painful video. I was uncomfortable. You could tell her husband thought it was a bad idea. I don't know if she had a couple glasses of wine earlier in the night and she was like, I have an idea.
Okay.
Let's make a video and do what all the hip, young, cool kids are doing.
Okay. While you were talking, I found it. So I'm going to play it. Now, this is a video. Like I say, it appears to be in Elizabeth Warren's kitchen. And let's listen. And you folks listening at home or in podcast later on, you tell me how genuine this seems to be on behalf of Elizabeth Warren.
I'm glad for everybody who's joining this video. It's great to hear from you. Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
I'm going to get me a beer.
Yep.
By the way, nobody in Massachusetts says that.
Yeah, she disappears.
Hey, Robert, my husband Bruce is now in here.
Yeah.
You want a beer?
No, I'll pass on the beer for now.
You sure? Come on, say hello.
He'll pass.
Yeah.
So,
have you ever seen a fighter pilot eject?
He's the best. And I'm crazy.
She pulls him in, and then he steps aside.
Oh, he would have died right there if he could have.
Yeah.
So, who have we got here so far? That I can see. Gabmar, good to see you. Hello.
So
Happy New Year to you.
We can probably fade this out because the rest of it is not, it's okay.
Oh, God. First and foremost.
Okay, so the tweets started coming. And one of the tweets was, let's see, at Legal Insurrection. It said, the video of Senator Warren drinking a beer is great material for an SNL skit. And her husband, quote, showing up at their house, followed by her thanking him for being there is priceless. Yeah.
Here's the best part about that video. And let's get right to it.
Oh, yeah.
Over her head almost immediately.
I did not notice this until it was pointed out.
I thought I noticed it when I first saw the video, and then I honestly doubted myself. I was like, nah. It's not what I think it is.
I went back. Did you?
After I saw somebody visually enhance it,
yeah,
and blow it up, and then I was like, it was what I thought it was.
Okay, well, here's as far as I went. I went to that still photo because the photo that I looked at had her in the kitchen, and you could see it up on top of the shelf, way on top of the cabinets. And then right next to it was a closer photograph of that ceramic piece that she has in her kitchen at the very tippy top of her cabinets. So I downloaded that into my computer. I blew it up, snipped it, and made it clearer in a program, and then looked at it. I blew it up. It was still pretty pixelated, and compared it to the photograph, and then I thought, oh, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
She can't be this stupid. No.
Yes.
No. So please explain to people what we're talking about.
I would guess it's probably from the 20s or the 30s. Yeah. It was around the time of like the lawn jockeys being famous.
Yes, exactly.
Uncle Revis type time.
The lawn jockeys or the little jockeys holding the lantern down at the end of the driveway, that kind of thing.
It is looks like a black juvenile male.
Right.
But it is a caricature.
It's a caricature of that with a big smile.
A huge smile on his face, the very overdrawn lips.
Right. Well emphasized. Clearly a black kid.
Yes. And when people are angry about blackface, this is almost the exact thing that they're talking about.
It couldn't be more overblown.
But the coup de grace, the pinnacle
Go ahead.
of all of it, and exactly how insulting it can be. Yeah. Now, by the way, I don't think anything like that in reality is an issue. Because it was made at a time. If it was now, if she bought it 3 weeks ago and it was just made last month, it's a different conversation. I am a firm believer that you do not hold people from a different time zone or time period,
a different history, time and place,
accountable for today's standards. Right. It's probably worth an ass ton of, or was worth a ton of money if it's an original.
It will now,
but the young lad is sitting, eating a humongous piece of watermelon.
Yeah, that's not a stereotype or anything.
No, and it is a stereotype. Don't get me wrong. I understand the anger that people would have if it was produced today. And I agree. It is a ridiculous stereotype. But again, this was probably made in the 20s or maybe even earlier or a little bit later when it was an accepted thing, right? I bring this up when I talk about slavery and anything else. Don't you dare hold people from the 1700s accountable by today's standards. It's an unfair precedent.
It's apples and hubcaps.
Now, if you have this as a collection piece put away and you're a normal person, it will never be an issue in life, right? You may try to sell it, eBay it, or you're holding on to it because of the historic value of like, look, this is what history used to be. We're in this generation of tearing down history in order to make people feel better. But you aren't running for president of the United States of America.
And
I'm hitting the table on purpose.
I know. Yeah, you're doing a Clint. The thing is that
terrific.
Are you actually? And the answer is yes. I'll out myself first. The answer is yes. Are you actually sufficiently tone deaf that when you decide that you're going to make a video and you're running for president and you're on the left and the left is going to examine the crap out of everything that you do, particularly in terms of Bernie Sanders these days?
Yes.
Because I think Bernie's political half-life now is maybe, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so, because now it was proven, apparently, allegations were made that during his campaign in 2016, not only was he paying female staffers less than the male staffers, but the female staffers there are saying essentially that his campaign headquarters and other outlets were rife with sexual harassment.
I don't doubt it.
Of women by men.
I don't doubt it.
Now, having said that, if you're sufficiently stupid as Pocahontas to not make sure that when you decide that you're going to do an off-the-cuff, spur-of-the-moment video, that you don't look up above your cabinets and notice the stereotypical black young kid with the big smile chawing on some watermelon, which is one of the most
insulting,
one of the largest stereotypes that you
Yes.
could possibly make
Yes.
of blacks in America these days.
Yes. And that stereotype's been around for years. I will tell you, I have a very good friend whose name is Ed. And Ed's a good friend of mine, big black dude. And he will tell you that stereotype exists because it's true. And I've had that conversation with him, and he says it all the time. He's like, but to be fair to all of America, who doesn't love watermelon?
No, that's, yeah.
So, but the reality is, all joking aside, the reality is, honestly, BZ, look, when you're on the left and you have to, and you're championing the man against the man, and you're picking this person up and you're donating your paycheck to this refugee group because you're part of that culture of social justice warrior, blah, 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 blah. Everything Elizabeth Warren's run against, how Trump is a racist and a bigot and a homophobe and he's no good.
Yep.
And we have to go down with people like that. Oh, by the way, did you see my cookie jar? It's a cute little black kid eating watermelon. What's wrong with that?
I have a couple of questions, and I think you can answer them. The future of the Democrat Party appears to me to be in the hands, whether they like it or not, of AOC and the Muslim chick with the hijab.
Minnesota.
Yeah, in Minnesota, because that's a hotbed of Islam.
The Palestinian girl that we've elected in Congress.
Right, who decided to marry her brother so that she could stay here in the United States. But that's a story for another day.
Well, it saves money.
Yeah, well, that's true. And what's a little incest between friends? They could be good friends. Who knows? But having said that, the big question is... See... by the way, Spreaker is not working, so the only way people are going to do is they are actually watching you do that right now. So, hey, that's why you watch the show in any event. The question would be, is Bernie Sanders going to pay for this? Will he pay a price?
Oh, he already
is he
will.
is he on the way out?
Yep.
And conversely, though, what kind of an effect do you think this will have upon Elizabeth Warren?
Well,
now?
and I'll tell you right now, look, Elizabeth Warren was trying to stay young and hip and prove that she's still dialed in.
Right. Relevant.
Because
The beer makes her
she
relevant.
sees the writing on the walls. These young progressives are taking over the Democratic Party.
They are,
And
indeed.
in order to get them to nominate her, she has to be cool, young, and hip and drink the beer.
Yep.
I'm going to go get me a beer. No person in the state of Massachusetts has ever said those words.
I'm going to go get me
I'm
a
going to go
beer.
grab a beer. I'm going to go grab a beer out of the fridge. I'll be right back. I'm going to get me a beer. We're not from the South, and we don't try to have that little, like, inner city urban youth sound in our voice. That's just not how we talk.
That patois rings false.
Oh, the whole thing rings false.
Yes.
If you told me that they checked her beer and it was some sort of like fluid that computers need to process, I'd almost believe it at this point.
Okay.
Because it's absolutely frightening. Look, I think she had a couple cocktails earlier. I think she looked at her phone and she was like,
could have been true.
Wait a minute. I made a big announcement. I have the Facey book.
Yeah, and I'm going to try it out.
And I can tweeps. I'm going to tweeps and I'm going to go online to Facebook and I'm going to touch all my followers early and often. It's going to be original in front of the cuff and I'm going to grab me a beer.
How relevant will that make me now? Oh my God, it'll be great. I will be so relevant in the eyes of...
So that ends her campaign. Who's next?
Yeah, good point. For the future, I think you can count out Feinstein.
Oh, Feinstein's gone.
Pelosi.
They're all gone. They're all
Sanders.
Bernie's gone.
Bernie
will get a pass because he's a socialist, but gone.
The final question before we end the show is this. Uncle Joe.
I think Uncle Joe is going to decline. I don't think Uncle Joe wants to do it. I think Uncle Joe keeps saying that he wants to do it.
He does.
I think Uncle Joe... But I think when push comes to shove, I don't think Uncle Joe has the drive to want to do it. I think Uncle Joe is comfortable being at home now. Look, political Uncle Joe versus Uncle Joe the grandfather. He's raising his grandkids or helping raise his grandkids. He's got a lot going on.
God bless him for that.
Just like I made the difference between Romney the person and Romney the politician today. I don't think he's going to want to step away from that in order to get full on into. And look, Joe's what, 77?
I was going to say he's in his late 70s, and do you want to continue doing this?
He's no spring chicken.
With Pelosi, I'll tell you what, going back to speaking, that was all ego.
Oh, yeah.
That was all ego. One more time. I gotta make it one more time.
Yep. That's the only reason she stayed on is she knew she'd get it. She knew she'd get it.
And she pulled all the strings possible.
Oh, absolutely.
Quite frankly, I think she ran out of strings.
Oh, the only two strings she has left is to make her smile. The big joke.
She ran out of knives, I
think. When she smiles and sucks in through her teeth.
That's right out of that meme that I've used before from Catherine Hellman out of the movie Brazil, where the guy grabs her cheeks in the facelift and pulls it back.
Yep, that's.
I love that because I always say, look, here's Nancy Pelosi getting her weekly skin tightening.
Yeah. Oh, I think if you lift up her hair, there's one. You know those big binder clips? I think there's one of them just holding it all together in the back.
Oh, hell yeah. That's like where isn't that why the little stapler, the stapler for your sutures, isn't that where it was designed for her, I'm sure.
That's Bill Burr, the comedian who I absolutely love. He's from Massachusetts. He's a loudmouth, but he says all the time, people who gets facelift, you look like a 50-year-old lizard. Stop. They haven't perfected the technology. Let's circle back around in a couple years when they get it done.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's a good time for this. I don't know.
Thank you, sir.
Well, you're not going anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I got to tell you, thanks for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at bzep, at BZEP, or my blog, bloviatingzeppelin.net. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, and by the Boeing Company, if it ain't Boeing, I ain't going, and also by the Pratt & Whitney Corporation, Thrust. You can trust. Also, thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I shall be consorting in less than an hour, and also, thanks to you, Sackhead Sean, who gave me a full big-ass bottle for Christmas of
Kettle One.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir.
And thanks to everybody for listening tonight. Thanks for listening live. Thanks for being in chat. And thanks to Sackhead Sean specifically for being here, the co-owner of the SHR Media Studios. Thanks. I'll be back next Tuesday. And then, with luck, I'll be on Jeff Dunnett's show on Wednesday. And also Sackheads. Sackheads should be back next week, January 9th. Folks, thanks. Take care. God bless. Be safe.
quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.